Hello friends, this is Manoj Uptani. I welcome you all on behalf of the Edupedia world. It's been a fantastic morning outside and I'm sure that you guys must be enjoying your life and your complete surroundings to the fullest. Perfect guys. Are you like revising the topics time and again because that is something which is extremely crucial for each one of you. This chapter, Audit under CIS environment, it's extremely crucial. Why? Because of the two major reasons. One, it's being covered under your audit as well as your ISCA, and this is something which we lack as a chartered accountant. We resist technology and technology related changes. So this is very much important for you to understand that the relevance of this particular topic is immense and it's imperative. You need to have the thorough revision at least for this topic, because this is going to be, you need to retain that in your mind, how things usually move forward as far as the computer application system is being concerned. It comes with the practical exposure. That is why I always recommend you guys to have a good flair during your articleship training, during your current organizational setup as well, because that is something which will be imperative for you in order to help you up in understanding how audit under CIS environment is being done if you'll be doing that practically with softwares, be it SAP, be it Oracle, be it Yardi, each one of them. So this is the seventh video presentation in which I'm gonna complete that review of checks and controls in the CIS environment, remaining topics, and I'll mark the beginning of one of the most relevant topic in that, which is the use of CATS, CAATS, computer assisted audit techniques. So we'll mark the beginning of all them. So let's head start with the first topic of the day. Fasten up your seatbelts, we're about to take off, and that will be the processing control. So guys, in my last topic I did cover one of the relevant topics, that was input control. All those checklists, all those things that you need to keep in your mind while you are providing the input to the computer. What all controls do you need to have in place? Now, after providing you the input to the computer, the processing work basically starts up. So guys, these are the five basic things that you need to take care. Number one, overflow. Number two, range. Number three, sign test. Number four, cross-footing. And number five, run to run cover. So guys, once you have completed your input control, okay, when the input has been like already accepted by the computer, it is usually processed through multiple steps. We all are aware of that. So processing controls are extremely essential for us to ensure that the integrity of the data is maintained. Almost all the controls are mentioned under that input may also be incorporated during the processing stage as well. So remember, in my last presentation, I was telling you about the validation checks. So once you have completed the input, okay, now the last thing which is going to happen is the validation checks. So processing validation checks primarily, guys, basically they ensure that the kind of computation which has been like performed on various numeric fields, are they authorized? Number one. Are they accurate? Number two. And are they complete or not? Number three. So there are a few of the validation checks which are available in place, and these are five major of them. Number one comes overflow. Let's suppose you have maintained some of the data, okay, and you have provided the data with the inaccurate kind of option. Plus, if in case you have provided the data in an excess manner, now what's going to happen is overflow can occur in that particular case if the field used for computation is just not initiated to zero to start. Some error in that computation may occur, or there are some of the chances that the unexpected high values may occur later on. So overflow is one of the common thing which usually happens during the validation checks. Number two is the range. There could be a possibility that the allowable value range can be applied to a field and you have just missed that mark of that range. That's the number two problem which can happen. Next, the sign tests. So the contents of one record type field might determine which sign is valid for one numeric field and which sign is applicable to another numeric field. So this thing will be happening in sign test. Let's suppose you must have gone through this ROC forms which are available on MCA portal. There you must have seen this thing that the validation checks usually ask you for the digital signature of the person, maybe a whole-time chartered accountant or maybe the director of that company. So they usually ask you for that digital signature. So have you ever like tried marking the wrong digital signature under the wrong column, whole-time directors, whole-time chartered accountant, whole-time directors digital signature to the full-time practicing chartered accountants column, and the full-time practicing chartered accountants digital signature to the whole-time director column. It's gonna create the problem in that particular case. So there are possible chances wherein this particular content which you developed, okay, and you replaced, it may provide you the validation check later on. Apart from that, there is cross-fitting. So there are some of the separate control totals which can be developed for all those related fields, and the cross-fitted at the end of the run as well. So cross-fitting is basically done in order to ensure that there is no such kind of problem which is occurring while you go for the validation checks. And finally, lastly, you take care of the run-to-run cover control. There is a system which is known as tape-based system basically. So what happens in that is, guys, that the processing of that transaction file may involve some of the several runs. Let's suppose from one run to another, another to another. This tape-based order processing system, it might have a transaction type that is used to update the first of the stock transfer master file, and then what's going to happen from that stock transfer master file is that same is being linked to the sales ledger, and that sales ledger is going to be linked with that general ledger. So this includes that from one run the application goes from one run to another, another to another, and that's why this particular transaction proceeds somehow. And various control totals may be passed from one run to another in order to ensure that the check on completeness of that processing is being done from your end in totality. This is something which is being done under the processing control system. So these are the major 5 checks which can create a problem for you if in case the validation is not done properly. Overflow, range, sign test, there could be a problem with the sign. There could be problem with the range which you have fixed up. There could be overflow of the information. Cross-fitting can happen, and finally run-to-run error may happen if in case you are transferring or your data is moving from one run to another, another to another. That's going to happen in the processing controls. So I am sure that you guys must have got the clarity with respect to this processing control as well. Now let's move to our next topic, and that will be for recording control. Okay, so once the processing is being done, the next thing which is going to happen is the recording part. After processing, the recording is being done. So recording control, guys, it basically enables you to record and keep those records safely, free from any kind of error, irregularity, and that the transaction details are completely input and that system or not. So primarily it is being divided into 2 components. Number 1 is error log, number 2 is transaction log. What happens in each one of them, let's understand in order to get the better clarity. What happens in error log is, this is particularly important in a batch entry and a batch processing system. Usually what happens is many of our accuracy checks can only be carried out during that runtime processing. Have you ever noticed this thing that usually these checks and these errors are basically reported only during runtime error, that something is going on and there is some kind of problem, it usually pops up and tells you that there is some of the error which is going on during that runtime processing. It is important that a particular detected error which does not bring that run to a halt on discovery, the erroneous transaction is written to a error log file. So what happens is, once you see that error, have you ever opened up the Windows media player or this VLC media player? It usually shows or pops up that if there is some of the error which is going on with that start of that video, it usually pops up some of the requests. Okay, there is an error in this patch of the file, there is an error in this patch of the file, and it records with the complete data that in a particular Dropbox, which helps you and enables you in understanding that okay, there is some problem in these 4 elements. So all you need to do is just detect and correct those 4 elements, and then your video will start getting processed in a utmost better way. Same goes with the transaction file while you're working with your computer systems as well. So that error transaction is written to a error log file, which is examined at the end of the processing. The errors that can be corrected are investigated with the relevant department before being input and processed. So that's what you do in your error log. This is a log which basically helps you up in collecting and collating all the errors which are coming up during your processing, and then you can record them up and you can clear them out with your input and your processing state, so that the same problem does not occur when you are going for the output control. So got that, guys? Perfect. Now moving to the second thing. One was error log, second is the transaction log. So what's going to happen in transaction log? Transaction log, guys, is basically the one which provides you a record of all the transactions which are entered into the system, as well as storing all those transaction details such as transaction reference number, its data, its account number, its type of the transaction which you are doing, the kind of amounts that you are inserting, the debit and the credit references, all these things will be incorporated in that transaction log. So it's a log which is going to prepare and maintain the transaction details completely. Transaction will be stamped with the details of the input, and this particularly typically includes the input time, input date, when did you input that into the system, its terminal number, its user number. All these things are going to be mentioned in transaction log, and this can be useful for many reasons, guys. Number one, it could be used for multi-access mainframe systems as well of the accounting transactions. Then this transaction log can also form the basis for any of the audit trail which you want, and the same can be printed out as well for your investigation during your audit. You have ever seen that the transaction log usually comes out when you ask for the auditee that provide me the transaction log for this particular thing. General dump is one of that thing, example for that. Usually ask for the general dump that provide me the entries completely. So they usually provide you the soft copy in order to ensure that you don't waste too much money and too much resources on paper. That can be done in that particular stuff as well. So this was all about recording control, the error log and the transaction log, and I'm sure that you guys got the complete clarity with respect to both of them. Now moving to the third thing of this particular presentation, and that will be storage control. Okay, so what's going to happen once you have recorded each and everything? Okay, the next thing which is going to happen is the storage part. Once all these controls have been implemented, storage control is that one particular control which basically ensures that the accurate and continuing and reliable storage of the data is allowed completely. Data is a very vital resource for any of the organization, and it's the heart of all the CIS activities. All we need to do is and ensure that special care must be taken to ensure the integrity of that database and the file system. The controls are particularly accidental erasure of those files, and precision for backup and recovery facilities should be available timely. So what all checks can you consider as an auditor and you can promote them in your company while you are auditing? Number one is the physical protection. Okay, there are some of the magnetic tape files which are available still in any of the organization. Though there is some of the technology has advancedly provided us with the best of the resources, now we can store that data in particularly our USBs, our pen drives and other stuffs. But still there are many organizations which are still basically working on that magnetic tape. So let's suppose that have the rings, okay, and it may be inserted. Now what's going to happen if in case those files are returned, okay, or there is something which has been erased out of them, this read-only files will not be supporting in that particular case. So it is always important to keep those files which involve magnetic tapes, be it floppy, be it your compact discs, be it any other stuff. You need to physically protect them up and keep them up in the stored environment against any kind of eraser, okay, any kind of theft, any kind of burglary, any kind of embezzlement. That is your data, and data is a prime concern for each one of us. So we need to protect them. Storage control's first parameter will be physical protection against the erasure. Next comes the external label. Now there are n number of files, n number of floppy disks which are available in that company, n number of compact disks which are available. Will it be easy for you to understand which compact disk belongs to which particular work? Definitely not, if in case you are not providing the external label to it. You need to label it up, okay, that this particular file basically belongs to project number one. This particular compact disk belongs to project number 1 lakh. That's gonna help you up in understanding which compact disk belongs to which project. So you need to store them in such a way that external label is basically provided to them in order to identify its content. Then comes the magnetic labels. So guys, magnetic labels, what happens is these are the basic labels which consist of the magnetic machine readable information encoded. Okay, so this barcode system, this magnetic ink character recognition, which is usually being available in banks. Have you seen that? You go for a grocery store and that's maybe like Shuffle or maybe like Reliance Fresh. You simply take out any of the packet with respect to your grocery, okay, and they'll be just plugging in the barcode reader and they'll check that which barcode is being assigned to that. So magnetic labels are basically being used in that particular thing. Why? Because they need to store n number of products and it would be very difficult for them in order to understand and identify which barcode belongs to which product. So all they need to do is just barcode that particular product and use a barcode recognition machine. So that's going to help him up in the barcode reader. So they can directly get the interface to that barcode and the product will be like automatically sold and that comes up into their system simultaneously. So this is usually what's happened in the magnetic label recognition. This is one form of the storage medium, and which is very much nowadays in picture with respect to the advancement of any of the transaction and technology interface. Then comes the file backup routines. Why it is always told up that once you have done the particular audit, you need to keep the backup the same. Okay. In major big fours, what usually happens is we usually keep our files are backup into the system, into the softwares which are being available in different big fours. So we keep our documentation intact so that if in case next year I'm not available in a particular audit, definitely there is another person who is going to do that audit for another entity. So that person can have the direct reference to those files even if I'm not available in that organization. So file backup routines are basically done in order to ensure that you are storing your files on a timely basis. So you need to back up all your file and in a routine manner on a timely basis on a recurring intervals. This is going to ensure your storage control in that way. Next comes the backup database routines. So this is almost on the same basis. There is one device which is usually being called as the direct access storage device. Okay, just like magnetic disks, we are usually going to dump all these compact disks. Usually it happens that the data starts getting erased from all these disks, and there are some of the corruption usually which happens to that particular disk. So what's gonna happen is we need to keep the backup of them as well. There used to be a time when we used to have the involvement of compact disc CDs at our home immensely. Nowadays, we don't have those. Why? Because technology has changed from CDs to USBs, now USBs to directly micro SDs and other cards. So we usually keep our files handy in those segments. Database backup routines basically ensure that if in case you are having some of the data in your CD, your compact disc, your DVD, you change that up, okay, and you keep another backup for the same if in case something wrong happens to your CD or your DVDs. So all those database backup routines are basically involved in that storage control process as well. And finally, I'll come to cryptographic storage. So by cryptographic storage, this is basically a coding which is being done. We're not supposed to take care of that. Why? Because we are not having much of the understanding with respect to the coding. Coders are altogether at the next level of the kind of a person. They usually keep their segments clear with the kind of working lifestyle they have, and they usually start early in their careers from school life only. So they are the ones who basically take care of the storage of their backup files, those hackers, and they basically take care of all these things in a cryptographic manner. So if in case you need to store any of your important vital information, maybe on cloud or maybe on some other place, you need to have and you need to avail the services of the coders. Okay, coders and all those authorized persons, they are going to help you up with your cryptographic storage as well. So these are the different parameters of storage control you need to adapt in order to ensure that no data of yours is getting lost while you are transmitting something to another person, or if in case there are some of the embezzlement or burglary or any other case of mishappening does happen. So you need to get your data stored in against any kind of physical protection, against any erasure. You need to mark all those external labels, magnetic labels. You need to have that file backup routines. You need to have that database backup routines. Apart from that, you need to, and you can go for cryptographic storage as well. So this was all about storage control. With this, I'll say thank you on behalf of the Edupedia. While keep interacting with our questions, queries in YouTube comment boxes. I will love to answer each one of your queries and grievances. If in case you have liked our video, do give us a thumbs up. It will act as a motivation booster for us as well. Till then, take care. Sayonara. God bless you all. Bye.